Nobody expected this. A brand new poll just dropped in the Texas Senate race, and it's shaking everything we thought we knew. Jasmine Crockett or James Talarico? Who's actually gaining momentum? Stay tuned, because the numbers reveal a shocking twist that could change the entire primary. Nobody saw this coming, not the insiders in Austin, not the party strategists, and not even the donors quietly watching from the sidelines. A brand new poll in the Texas Senate race has just dropped, and it's sending shockwaves across political circles. The matchup is clear: Jasmine Crockett versus James Talarico. For months, this race was considered predictable, almost routine. Both candidates were rising Democratic stars, but their styles and approaches seemed to balance each other out. Many assumed it would be a measured contest, with no surprises, until now. The latest poll changes all of that. Suddenly, the numbers reveal a shift in momentum that no one fully anticipated. For insiders, it's more than just percentages on a page. It's a signal that voter energy, enthusiasm, and engagement are moving in unexpected directions. Political analysts are already re-examining assumptions about who has the upper hand, and campaigns are adjusting strategies on the fly. To understand why this poll is creating such a stir, let's rewind. Jasmine Crockett is known for her bold and assertive style. She speaks directly, with a tone that grabs attention. Whether in congressional hearings, television interviews, or social media posts, Crockett does not soften her words. Her supporters admire her fearlessness, seeing her as someone unafraid to challenge authority or confront political opponents. In today's political climate, that kind of energy resonates quickly, especially with younger voters who consume news and updates primarily through social media channels. On the other side, James Talarico represents a very different approach. Calm, measured, thoughtful, these are the hallmarks of his political style. A former teacher turned lawmaker, Talarico speaks in the language of policy, community, and unity. His approach is not about viral moments or headlines. Instead, he invests time in town halls, long conversations with constituents, and building trust within communities. His supporters believe that sustainable change requires patience, coalition building, and understanding diverse perspectives. Now, the poll indicates that momentum is shifting. One candidate is gaining serious ground, and this is raising fundamental questions. Are Texas Democrats leaning toward bold confrontation or measured, coalition-focused leadership? The numbers show not just who is ahead, but the intensity of support. Crockett supporters may express passionate certainty, while Talarico's base is enthusiastic but less publicly assertive. These subtleties can influence turnout, and in a primary, turnout is everything. Young voters are especially energized. Data from the poll shows that millennials and Gen Z are engaging with the race more than previously anticipated. Social media chatter, event attendance, and even campaign volunteer numbers suggest that Crockett's style resonates strongly in urban centers, where younger voters are concentrated. Meanwhile, suburban areas are showing a nuanced picture. Voters there appreciate Talarico's measured approach, prioritizing coalition building and pragmatic solutions over bold confrontational messaging. These suburban dynamics are critical because they can tip a close race in either direction. Independent voters are also watching closely. Unlike partisans, independents are evaluating the candidates on both style and perceived electability. Some are drawn to Crockett's assertiveness, seeing her as a sign of leadership that can stand up to Republicans statewide. Others lean toward Talarico, trusting his calm, methodical approach to build relationships across party lines. The poll shows subtle shifts among this group, with minor increases in support for one candidate, which analysts interpret as potentially pivotal for the outcome. Internal campaign polling had suggested a tight contest, but public surveys carry a different weight. Once numbers are released, perception alone can generate momentum. Donors notice shifts and adjust their giving. Volunteers may feel inspired or cautious based on the new data. Media coverage amplifies the narrative, further influencing voter engagement. This is why the release of a single poll can sometimes change the trajectory of a campaign overnight. Fundraising is another key factor. Crockett has access to national progressive networks, giving her the ability to attract large-scale donations quickly. High-profile endorsements from national figures or organizations could follow, amplifying her visibility and reach. Talarico, on the other hand, focuses on grassroots fundraising, cultivating loyal local supporters who consistently contribute, even if amounts are smaller. The difference in approach reflects the candidate's overall strategies. One prioritizes visibility and high-energy mobilization. The other builds steady, dependable local support. In addition to demographics and fundraising, media portrayal plays a significant role. Crockett's style lends itself to headlines, viral clips, and social media amplification. Every assertive statement or sharp rebuttal can become a talking point across networks. Talarico's messaging, while less dramatic, is deeply substantive. He appeals to those who follow policy debates closely, appreciate detailed explanations, and value calm, thoughtful discussion. In a media environment dominated by attention-grabbing content, the contrast between these styles can affect how different audiences perceive the candidates. The intensity gap highlighted by the poll is particularly important. Crockett's supporters often express high confidence, vocal enthusiasm, and readiness to engage online and offline. Talarico's base, while committed, appears more measured and strategic. These differences can influence voter turnout, which is the ultimate test in any primary. A smaller but highly enthusiastic base can sometimes outweigh a larger but less mobilized one, especially in competitive contests. As the campaigns respond to the poll, every decision becomes more consequential. Strategy meetings, media appearances, social media posts, and fundraising initiatives are all being reevaluated. The race is no longer theoretical or quiet. It is live, dynamic, and highly competitive. Each campaign must now balance messaging that energizes supporters while appealing to undecided voters and moderates, all under the spotlight of public scrutiny. Finally, the takeaway for segment 1 is clear. The Texas Senate race has entered a new phase. Momentum, voter energy, and public perception are creating a competitive and unpredictable environment. What seemed predictable has transformed into a high-stakes contest where strategy, style, and voter engagement could make all the difference. This poll has not just moved numbers. It has injected urgency, attention, and intensity into a race that many thought was routine. The coming weeks will show whether this momentum is sustainable, or whether early excitement gives way to longer-term campaign fundamentals. For now, though, one thing is certain. The Texas Senate race is no longer ordinary. It has become a defining showdown, and everyone involved, candidates, strategists, voters, and donors, is paying attention. Now that we've seen the shockwaves caused by the latest poll, it's time to take a deeper look at the two candidates themselves. Jasmine Crockett and James Talarico are not just different people, they are very different approaches to leadership, communication, and voter engagement. Understanding these differences is critical to grasping why this race is so dynamic and why the poll results matter so much. Let's start with Jasmine Crockett. Crockett has built her political identity around boldness, assertiveness, and visibility. She speaks directly and with clarity. Her tone is often sharp, sometimes confrontational, but always deliberate. In congressional hearings, she doesn't hesitate to ask tough questions or challenge authority. On television, she commands attention with a mix of knowledge, confidence, and emotion. On social media, Crockett's presence is relentless, posting videos, updates, and statements that reinforce her reputation as a fearless advocate. Her supporters see her as a fighter, someone unafraid to stand up for progressive values and confront opponents head-on. They believe Crockett energizes voters who are looking for leadership that refuses to compromise on principles. In urban centers, young voters are particularly responsive to this style. They see her as representing a generation that refuses to accept the status quo, a voice that is active, present, and unafraid to challenge systems that don't work. Crockett's strengths are clear. She has a high national profile, meaning that she can attract attention from donors, advocacy groups, and media outlets far beyond Texas. Her bold messaging generates viral moments, clips, quotes, and headlines that spread quickly online. This visibility can translate into both fundraising and volunteer energy. National progressive networks are watching closely, ready to back a candidate who demonstrates momentum and media appeal. However, Crockett also faces risks. Boldness can be polarizing. Suburban moderates, older voters, and independent voters may see her assertive approach as too aggressive. Her style, while energizing the base, could alienate potential supporters who are looking for measured leadership. And visibility alone does not guarantee votes. Enthusiasm must translate into turnout at the polls. Now, let's look at James Talarico. Talarico represents almost the opposite approach. Calm, measured, and coalition-oriented, his style is rooted in policy, persuasion, and relationship building. A former teacher turned legislator, Talarico focuses on connecting with communities through long conversations, town halls, and thoughtful messaging. His approach emphasizes inclusion, collaboration, and coalition building, rather than headlines or viral moments. Talarico appeals strongly to suburban Democrats, moderate voters, and those prioritizing electability in statewide contests. His supporters see him as someone who can bridge divides, communicate across ideological lines, and maintain a steady hand in politics. His calm approach conveys stability, thoughtfulness, and long-term strategic thinking. This is especially appealing in a state like Texas, where building coalitions and appealing to moderates can be decisive in high-stakes elections. Talarico's strengths lie in his ability to build trust, his deep understanding of policy, and his grounded approach to campaigning. His grassroots support is loyal and reliable, providing a consistent base of volunteers and donors. While he may not have the immediate national visibility that Crockett enjoys, his methodical approach ensures a solid foundation in the communities he represents. But like Crockett, Talarico has challenges. His calm, measured style does not naturally generate viral moments or attention-grabbing headlines. In an era dominated by social media amplification and media soundbites, this could limit his reach among younger, high-energy voter segments. He also faces the task of converting strong local support into broad statewide appeal, which requires careful messaging and strategic outreach. Let's summarize the contrast between the two candidates. Style. Crockett is bold and assertive. Talarico is calm and measured. Base. Crockett's support is strongest among young, urban voters. Talarico appeals more to suburban and moderate voters. Media presence. Crockett benefits from viral moments and national visibility. Talarico relies on consistent local engagement. Fundraising. Crockett has access to national progressive donors. Talarico builds steady grassroots support. Strengths. Crockett energizes the base and captures attention. Talarico builds coalitions and persuades moderates. Risks. Crockett's style can polarize. Talarico's calm approach may not capture attention or energize young voters as strongly. The latest poll reflects these dynamics. Urban areas show strong support for Crockett, suggesting that her bold style resonates with younger and highly engaged voters. Suburban districts indicate growing support for Talarico, highlighting the importance of moderation, policy credibility, and coalition building. Independent voters are carefully weighing both candidates' approaches, considering not just style but also perceived electability for a statewide race. Another important aspect is voter enthusiasm. Crockett's supporters express a high degree of certainty, often vocal and active in online spaces, rallies, and volunteer efforts. Talarico supporters are equally committed, but their enthusiasm manifests more in steady, consistent participation, attending meetings, contributing regularly, and engaging at the community level. These differences in intensity can have a significant impact on turnout, which is crucial in primaries where small numbers can decide the outcome. Media coverage also amplifies the differences. Crockett's confrontational style naturally generates headlines, clips, and viral moments, creating a perception of momentum and energy. Talarico's calm, thoughtful messaging appeals to those who prioritize depth and understanding over spectacle. This contrast is central to the race. It's not only about who has support, but how that support engages, spreads, and influences others. As the campaign progresses, understanding these profiles helps explain why strategy, endorsements, and fundraising are being closely monitored. Each candidate's team must navigate the delicate balance between energizing the base and appealing to undecided or moderate voters. Momentum in one area can influence other areas. A viral moment may attract donors, which enables advertising, which in turn increases visibility and can sway voter perception. Finally, the takeaway from segment 2 is this. The Texas Senate race is more than just a contest between two names. It is a contest of styles, approaches, and philosophies. Crockett represents boldness, visibility, and confrontation. Talarico represents calm, coalition building, and persuasion. The latest poll does more than indicate who is ahead. It reflects the priorities, values, and engagement of voters across Texas. How these dynamics play out in the coming weeks will shape not just the primary, but potentially the future of Democratic leadership in the state.
With the candidate profiles and voter dynamics clear, it's time to explore the broader implications of this race and what the future may hold. The Texas Senate primary is no longer a routine contest. It is now a high-stakes, high-visibility showdown where every campaign decision can shift momentum. Fundraising will be decisive. Jasmine Crockett's national profile provides access to large-scale progressive donors who can pour money into advertising, events, and outreach quickly. Her high visibility in Washington and on social media also allows her to attract high-dollar donors who prioritize candidates with momentum. If Crockett maintains or increases her poll numbers, these financial resources could expand dramatically, giving her team the ability to dominate media coverage, increase volunteer mobilization, and sustain high-energy campaign events. James Talarico, by contrast, relies on a more localized, grassroots fundraising strategy. His strength is not necessarily in large checks, but in consistency and loyalty. Small, steady donations from committed supporters create a dependable campaign base. Talarico's strategy emphasizes engagement and trust, cultivating relationships with voters who appreciate a candidate willing to invest in communities over headlines. While this approach may not create immediate national attention, it provides stability and resilience, which can be crucial over a long campaign. Debates and public appearances will also play a critical role in shaping perceptions. Crockett's assertive style may dominate the stage with sharp, memorable statements, potentially swaying undecided voters and reinforcing enthusiasm among her base. Talarico's calm, deliberate approach could appeal to voters who value substance over spectacle. The contrast between fire and focus will become impossible to ignore during these debates. One strong moment could shift momentum overnight, affecting both media narratives and public perception. Turnout will be the ultimate deciding factor. Young voters, energized by Crockett's bold messaging and social media presence, could tilt the race in her favor if they show up at the polls in high numbers. Suburban moderates, who resonate with Talarico's coalition-building approach, could counterbalance this if their engagement is strong. Even small shifts in enthusiasm, volunteer participation, or local endorsements can make a significant difference in a tight primary. The stakes go beyond this single race. Texas is a symbolic and strategic state in national politics. A Democratic win in this Senate primary, and potentially in the general election, will have broader implications for party strategy, national balance of power, and long-term political trends. Donors, strategists, and political action committees are watching every poll, every fundraising report, and every public appearance closely. They are trying to answer one critical question: which candidate can survive the scrutiny, attacks, and pressure of a statewide general election? Perception matters more than ever. In modern politics, the narrative created by momentum, media coverage, and social media amplification can become reality. If Crockett is perceived as surging, donors will follow, volunteers will increase, and media coverage will intensify. The same is true for Talarico. Strong local engagement and measured messaging can reinforce his narrative as the candidate who can appeal to moderates and win a statewide race. Every day in this campaign is a strategic chess move. Endorsements are another layer of complexity. Local leaders, national figures, and political organizations must carefully consider which candidate to support. Endorsing too early carries risk if momentum shifts. Endorsing too late risks losing influence in the shaping of the campaign narrative. These endorsements can signal legitimacy, energize supporters, and even sway undecided voters. For both candidates, securing the right endorsements at the right time can create significant strategic advantages. Voter behavior will also influence messaging strategies. Campaigns monitor data in real time: social media engagement, event attendance, volunteer signups, and polling trends. Messages are adjusted to emphasize the issues that resonate most with each demographic segment. Crockett may highlight bold stances and progressive priorities to energize the base, while Talarico may focus on unity, policy expertise, and pragmatic solutions to appeal to moderates. Every message, every ad, every social media post carries weight. The broader strategic implications extend to national politics as well. Texas has become increasingly competitive, and national parties are keenly interested in the trajectory of Democratic leadership in the state. A Crockett win signals that boldness, visibility, and assertive messaging are valued by voters. A Talarico win signals that coalition building, moderation, and persuasion are prioritized. These outcomes inform national strategy, donor allocations, and political messaging for years to come. In terms of campaign resilience, both candidates face potential challenges. Crockett's assertive style, while energizing, risks backlash or negative framing by opponents. Talarico's measured approach may struggle to capture attention quickly, potentially leaving him vulnerable to narrative swings driven by social media or viral moments. Both teams must continuously assess risk, respond strategically, and maintain momentum in the face of unpredictable developments. This race also illustrates the tension between passion and pragmatism. Crockett embodies energy, urgency, and the power of visibility. Talarico embodies persuasion, careful coalition building, and long-term strategy. Voters are effectively choosing not just a candidate, but a philosophy of leadership. Which approach will win favor in Texas? The fire of assertive action or the focus of strategic coalition building? Finally, the conclusion is clear. The Texas Senate primary is far from over. Momentum is fluid, voter engagement is critical, and every strategic choice matters. The next poll, the upcoming debates, and early endorsements could redefine the narrative entirely. Both campaigns know that perception is reality in politics, and they are working tirelessly to shape it. When voters step into the booth, they will not just select a candidate. They will choose the style, the strategy, and the vision that will represent them in Texas and beyond. This is more than a primary. It is a defining moment that could reshape the future of Democratic politics in Texas, setting the stage for statewide elections, national strategy, and political discourse for years to come. The takeaway from segment 3 is that this race is no longer quiet, theoretical, or predictable. Momentum, voter engagement, media amplification, fundraising, and strategy all converge to create a high-stakes environment. Every action, appearance, and message can shift the race in meaningful ways. In the coming weeks, voters, donors, and political observers alike will watch closely, knowing that the outcome of this contest could influence not only who represents Texas in the Senate, but how Democratic leadership is defined in this critical state for the next generation.